I'm going to move us on. This is the rebuilding with an emphasis on green and efficient homes. People who are rebuilding now, how many people here are actually rebuilding a house right now or rebuilding some structure? Okay. Most of us didn't choose to be rebuilding a house right now. It was not a voluntary choice, but here we are. As long as you're rebuilding, what we're hoping to do as we move forward with the rebuilding process is figure out how to rebuild within the constraints of our budget, our insurance, our site, and also how can we rebuild in a way that's affordable, that helps the climate and the environment so that we can contribute to reducing the likelihood of these kinds of events going forward. So what is our impact on the climate? So our first, and of course we have to do that while we save money, because most of us have a gap. I'm hearing huge gaps. So we need to talk about this in as realistic a way as we can. And with that in mind, I really am excited to introduce Rachel Kuykendall. Got it? I got it. Rachel Kuykendall with Sonoma Clean Power. Homeowners are being encouraged to build all electric homes. Let's not put gas in the area of the fire pathway if we can avoid it. And I know that Sonoma Clean Power has some significant incentives. And I'm going to do a quick plug for, there's a demonstration back there with at the Sonoma Clean Power table in Orange for an induction cooktop. I just purchased an induction cooktop, and I am shocked at how much I love it. I had thought that I would be a gas cook person for forever, and I love my induction cooktop, and I know there's good deals on them. So forgive that plug and let me let you talk.
Hi everyone, my name is Rachel Kuykendall with Sonoma Clean Power. Oh, no worries. And I'm our program manager for Sonoma Clean Power. So Sonoma Clean Power, we've gotten this question a couple times of who exactly we are, and we are the local not-for-profit energy provider for Sonoma and Mendocino counties. How that works is we locally buy and source power. From places like the geysers, geothermal, and we have 2 solar farms that just went online in Petaluma that we're pretty excited about. We buy that power on behalf of all our member cities and counties, and then we distribute it through PG&E's poles and wires. A big part about our mission and why we exist is to help reduce greenhouse gas emissions for our area. And that really translates in everything that we do. So things like our electric vehicle program that we run every year, that's coming back next week. So we're pretty excited about that. So say what that program is. Between about $10,000 and $15,000 off of the MSRP at time of purchase for 9 different electric vehicle models. And if you guys are interested in that, come to our booth and we can tell you all about it. But we're trying to make it just a no-brainer and bring down the price so you can just walk in and not have to negotiate that discounted price with dealers in Sonoma and Mendocino counties. So we do things like that. We also, as soon as the fires hit, really started thinking about what we could do to give back locally. And what really came out of that was a lot of meetings with local architects, our customers, everyone to sort of say, what can we do to support you? And what we heard first and foremost was just money, please. Like this, we can't afford to rebuild. So we started thinking about ways that we could work with local partners like PG&E in the Bay Area Air Quality Management District to create a program specifically for folks rebuilding. and how to think not just like a traditional utility program, but really say, what would we want if we're rebuilding our homes? And one of our staff members at Sonoma Clean Power did lose their home, so this is really personal for us as well. And what came out of that is what we call the Advanced Energy Rebuild Program. There are 2 different ways to participate in the program, so we really want to be flexible for you guys. So the base incentive is $7,500 per home. You're also eligible for another incentive at half that level if you build what's called an accessory dwelling unit or a granny unit at your property. And why that's important to us is we wanted to, frankly, we had a housing crisis in Sonoma County before the fires, and this has just made things even harder for us. So we want to do every little bit we can to help encourage additional homes that can be used for rebuilding our community. So that $7,500 is for homes that use both electricity and either natural gas or propane. We wanted to allow for that, and we can talk more about what that looks like and how to participate, but generally what we're asking for is a home that's about 20% better than current energy code. And what we're doing is we'll actually sit down with you once you get to the point of design and work out what that looks like, how you can do it cost effectively. We're also working with people who have already got their permits at this point and sort of said, I just heard about this. So we'll sit down with you and discuss options. I want to give a plug to the county, Energy and Sustainability, and they're doing sit downs with homeowners as well to discuss options for energy efficiency and sustainability in our home that are cost effective. But really our goal with this initial incentive of $7,500 is to make energy efficiency just a no-brainer. We know you guys are dealing with so much, and what we heard from the community is that we needed a big number, a big incentive level to get the attention of builders who have so much to deal with, are moving really slowly. So we wanted to make this easy for you guys, easy for them, and a number that made sense that could cover or mostly cover the cost to do these things.
Did you say $7,500?
I did, per home.
And what kinds of things would make a home eligible for that?
Yeah, so what we're finding is one of the best ways to start is to think about the envelope of your building. So the walls, the attics, the windows, making sure those are as energy efficient as possible. And why that's important is as soon as you invest in those things, you can do things like reduce the size and cost of your heating equipment and not have those items work as hard for you. So one thing we're finding that's just a no-brainer is adding extra insulation to your attic. It costs almost nothing and pays back almost instantly. And what we're doing is we're really working with builders and your team to say what makes sense for your property. And then if you want to go above and beyond that, we also offer an incentive of $12,500 for homes that are just doing electricity only, so no natural gas or propane. And
I'm going to repeat that, $12,500
$12,500
to go all electric.
Correct.
And our local electric provider, Sonoma Clean Power, offers clean electricity.
Yes.
And your rates are a little bit below or above?
Yeah, so we're about 3% cheaper than PG&E.
Okay.
But what I will say is you don't have to be a Sonoma Clean Power customer to participate in this program. Anyone can, so even if you were a PG&E customer before, you are eligible. We hope that you'll use Sonoma Clean Power because it is cheaper and cleaner, but if you don't want to, that's fine. And so that
you can still be eligible for $12,500.
Yeah, absolutely. And why go all electric? That's kind of the question we've been getting a lot, because it is somewhat counterintuitive. I mean, back in even like the 80s, it was that electricity was really dirty, and natural gas was the cleaner, more sustainable way to power homes. It was cheaper. And really what's happened, especially over the last 10 years, is organizations like Sonoma Clean Power have come in, and our power is extremely clean, it's cheap, and then the appliances, the electric appliances, have gotten so much more efficient. So it's just become the number one way that you guys can think about rebuilding and have the best impact on your community and reduce your impact on the world. It's not for everyone, so we'll work with you to decide what makes sense to do electric appliances and where it makes sense to use gas if that's your preference. But ultimately, we really want to be flexible with folks and help our community rebuild, and that's why we created this program. Yeah.
Is it compatible if we wanted to work with a contractor on having solar?
Yeah,
So the question was, is it compatible with having solar panels?
It is, and that was a great setup that we offer an additional kicker of $5,000 for homes that are powered by renewable energy. So that's usually solar panels plus a battery. And absolutely.
Does the car count as the battery?
Usually not. That's a good question.
Okay.
We're getting there, so that maybe the answer will be yes in a couple of years. But this is more a traditional battery.
So that's 12,500 plus 5,000 on top of that if you do solar.
Correct. And if you throw an accessory dwelling unit in there, then potentially even more than that. Yeah, and again, we're just trying to give people all the options, lay them out, and say what works with you guys.
Is this currently only in the area that there was a fire, and did your home have to be affected by the fire?
Yes, so that's a great question. This particular program is only for homes that were destroyed by the fires. Actually, we're working next year, probably around March or April, to open a physical store that will have some of these technologies like induction cooktops and heat pump water heaters, so you can touch them, feel them, test them. And that will be open to everyone, regardless of whether you're building a new home or remodeling. And really our goal is to get those technologies in front of you guys so you can see what the heck they look like. But yeah, right now this particular program is only for homeowners rebuilding after the fires.
I think that we'll take one more question, then we need to move on.
Great question.
How
So
long does the program go for?
yes, the program goes until you must have your permit before December 31st of next year. And why that is there's going to be a new energy code on January 1st, 2020. So we need the permit to be in before then, and then you have 36 months after that to build if you. So a pretty long program cycle. We're actually already talking with our other funders on what the program could look like for folks rebuilding after that. But it's still a little early to tell because the energy code is going to get a little more strict.
Thank you. I think there's lots of more information will be available at the orange Sonoma Clean Power table at the back. We're going to move along now. Thank you. To Dory Estrella, Energy Analyst with Sonoma County Energy and Sustainability Division. And thank you for being here. I think folks are really interested in your Energy Analyst program.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Great, thanks for having me. We're very happy to be here today. So a little bit about energy and sustainability. You know, we do a lot of public outreach events, and it always surprises me is how many people don't realize in the county that we have an energy and sustainability division. So a little bit about us is the division began in 2006 originally to address the county's internal energy use in their buildings and projects that they were doing there. And from there expanded in 2009, one of our first public-facing programs for retrofitting, financing for retrofits, was the PACE financing, and you might have heard of it as Skype financing. And from there, it's grown on to a host of programs and resources that we have implemented to help both residential and commercial projects move forward, looking at their energy efficiency, connecting them with resources, certification for green businesses. And then last year, with the fires, it just made sense to add a rebuilding consultation component and to be able to help people look at, we talked about it a little bit already, is how many people went into it thinking, you know, that they're going to have to build a house one day. Prior to working at the county, I was in construction. I did green building. I worked in custom homes. And it's a lot. And a lot of people, you know, didn't expect to have to do that. And so we can help in the consultation services that we offer. You'll hear terms now that you've never had to think about before. The building codes, thinking about energy code, Title 24, Part 6, all of these different terms and what they mean and how they're going to affect you. And what the message is that we really want to get across is that a lot of people think, oh, the energy code, it's going to cost this much more money, but you're going to have a better building. And that's really the most important message. It's going to be more efficient. It's going to be more resilient with these energy codes. You know, it was implemented back in the late 70s. Has changed over time to bring us a better building over time. And our energy analysts on staff that would meet with you can help talk to you about that. And the great thing about the consultation service, to expand a little bit about how Rachel talked about the different components and the insulation, we talk about those types of things in more detail with you, helping you learn about the areas. We really focus on the areas that you won't have a chance to make changes to later, or they're going to be very costly if you do. So things like the framing, adding more insulation, going beyond the code there, looking at your high performance walls and how they're built and how your roof insulation, pre-wiring for solar, that's a really big thing. Even if you're not going to do it now, having your house built now and addressing your wiring is going to be far more efficient than having to go back in, if not nearly impossible or very, very expensive to do it later on when you do want to add it.
Can I hold you a second? Are the Sonoma Clean, can you use any of the Sonoma Clean Power funds for pre-wiring for solar, or do you have to go the whole way?
So you can. All of our incentive pathways actually ask that you do that because we agree it's extremely cost effective to do it when you build.
Thank you.
So we can help
Also,
you.
what's the cost of having an energy analyst?
There's no cost for our services.
Okay.
So and the great part about it is we see homeowners at any part during the process of their building. We have people that have come in that are just curious to know, just thinking about rebuilding, thinking about wanting to learn more about energy code and what that means to them. We have people that come in with their plans in hand and are ready to go and want to look at their features and talk through with somebody. We can help figure out, and if you're in the beginning stages, who are those people on your team? Rachel mentioned, a couple of, your team members working with their builders, and we can help you understand who those team members are, what a certified energy analyst is. So that they're part of it is that a lot of people don't realize that they're the people that their architect or their builder are going to hire anyway to get, to have to look at their plans and get those features. So we see people along any part of the process. And coupled in with that, not just about rebuilding, is the solar consultation. So the solar consultation is a really great component. We've actually been offering solar consultations for a few years. We have staff that have come to work with us. We have a team of experts in all areas of building that do our consultations and account management. But specifically regarding our solar, we've been sitting down with people to help them understand solar throughout any of the process. And this is how the consultations for better buildings kind of came about and evolved, was from these consultations, being able to provide a service to those in Sonoma County that are thinking about solar, such a big purchase. Is it right for you? We see people who just have questions that want to know what solar is. With the Community Wildfire Protection Program, I'm sure that everyone's received their notices about being able, PG&E, being able to turn off the power, for a certain number of days in dangerous conditions. How can we power our critical loads? So we're looking at that. We're getting a lot of questions about that. So we field all of those questions along the way. If you have bids, we can help you compare them, help you compare financing options. It's a really great trip.
Is there a loan program? I thought Pace and Skype had loan programs. Is there a loan program? Does it still exist?
I'm going to have to call you on loan because it's
Okay.
not actually, it's
not really a loan.
it's financing, but it's not a loan. It's an assessment. So I mentioned that in 2009, one of our first public-facing programs was the PACE financing, Property Assessed Clean Energy, and we call it Skype financing. So our original name for that financing program is the Sonoma County Energy Independence Program. And it was started in 2009 and allowed homeowners and commercial business owners, property owners in Sonoma County to finance energy efficient, water conserving, or things like solar permitted improvements to their property. And that's been, was very successful, and we've been running it, like I said, since 2009.
Do you pay it with your taxes? Is that
It
part
is.
of it?
It's a line item.
Right.
It's an assessment, so it's a line item on your tax bill, and you'll see that on there. So there's no personal credit qualifying. There is, we don't look at your income, your debt to income ratio. It's all based on the property. So the property value, how much you owe, so to make sure you're not underwater, and you can finance up to 10% of your property value.
And you can pay it off with your tax bill
Right,
over,
your bill with
over
your
30 years?
10 or 20 years.
10 or 20
10 or
years.
20 years is the terms that you have your choice.
So that gives you a choice. You could take out a conventional loan, or you could do this kind of program.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love it when we offer choices to people who need,
It's an
lots of
option,
options.
right? There's and
especially if you're
financial.
financially stressed right now and might not
Exactly.
feel
And they're
comfortable with taking out a traditional loan.
Yes, and so I don't know if you follow the Board of Supervisors, but recently they did approve, and which we're still working out the details, to be able to use that in some rebuilds, and gap financing as a possibility to do that. We are looking at how that works, because it's based on property value, but we should have more information over that, in the coming months. It is available for ADUs, so if anyone's looking at doing an ADU, and coupling in some of those monies, in talking with people that are rebuilding. I'm also work with another organization. They're coupling and financing a little bit from here and a little bit from here and a little bit from here, and maybe some on my credit cards, and it's another one of those pieces. And like Julie mentioned, it's an option, and it's great to have options when sometimes it may feel like there's not a lot.
And your booth, your table.
Our table is back
is
there.
back
That's Liz.
there.
Liz is our division manager.
Next to, Liz is waving, and it has the word rebuilding in red and on a white board, right? Okay.
Yes.
Um,
So I encourage you to come over. I know I've talked with a lot of you today, and I've noticed some of you from other events and other meetings that we've done, I think I've seen a couple earlier that we're actually in for consultations. Come sign up, come talk to us, come get a card, and we'd love to talk to you about your projects and questions that you have.
So we'll take one question now, and then we'll move on, and we can do more questions at the end.
The line item.
Yes, sir.
On the line item on your property tax for this, is it also tax deductible for like regular property tax, or is it just the interest?
So the question is, with the line item on the property tax, is it tax deductible? Or is it just the interest that's tax deductible? Or do you know those answers about taxing?
So I always like to preface it by consult your tax professional. The IRS was very clear, and there is a guidance on their website, and I don't remember the exact number, but if you look up PACE financing on the IRS site, there is a section about the deductibility as mortgage interest. So not actually, it doesn't fall under those new guidelines, but it does. So the interest portion, based on the IRS guidelines, and again, I advise you just consult your tax professional, but it's very clear on their website. The interest rate is 7%, and very minimal fees. I think the fees are at like 170 some odd dollars.
Would you repeat that question?
Oh, the interest was 7%.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you very much for offering the program. And I'm going to switch mics. The next person up, we are lucky to have from the AIA, the Institute for Architects, American Institute for Architects, Julia, I'm going to say this wrong, Donahoe. And we're excited to know what kinds of rebuilding resources are available. And take it away. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie.
Yeah, so the local American Institute of Architects, Redwood Empire, has a lot of resources available. I served as president in 2012 and then got to go serve on the national board, and the American Institute of Architects nationally is very, very much interested in disaster recovery for everyone, in creating resilient communities and figuring out ways to rebuild communities quickly and efficiently and better than they were before. And I think that's what the governor said. This was one of the worst disasters he's ever seen. That first day he was here, that Sunday. And Chris Corsi said, and we're going to have the best recovery that anyone's ever seen. So the AI is highly committed to helping that happen. 2 years ago, when the Lake County disaster happened, we took about 20 architects up there to really try and understand and help some of the homeowners to rebuild, and the difficulty of rebuilding was daunting. We saw how difficult it was for people to rebuild up there. And so when it happened here, we thought maybe we were preparing for an earthquake. None of us ever imagined the disaster that we've experienced here. And so we were preparing for the Hayward fault to go, and that we would be helping in the Bay Area. So that's what we were trying to do. And lo and behold, here we just already knew so much. So we immediately wanted to be in the local assistance center and help everybody in every way we can. We have all hands on deck. You'll find at the back, I have a little sheet about helping, all the things architects can do to help you. And we have on our website a live list of all the architects in town who still have capacity, and as they take care of people, then there's more people available. So most of you have never gone through the insurance process. Probably most of you were never homeowner builders. I usually find about 1 in 30 people have ever built a home themselves. They were usually homeowner buyers. And probably you've never been through the construction process except for maybe a remodel. And so it's very daunting, the whole process. And with the energy stuff, I went down and talked to the people in Ventura County last couple weeks ago, and they have a total, if you do everything they want you to do, at most you can get $8,500 out of their incentive program. And I thought that was really remarkable, because I think what I just heard Rachel say is not just that you can get $7,500 or $12,500 or $17,500, but if you do an ADU, you can get $25,000 of incentive packages. That's huge. And then I heard Dory say, oh, and you can finance a lot of your upgrades on your tax bill. So that can carry with the house. You don't have to carry it all on yours and on your current asset. And then you also have all the building code upgrades in your insurance package. And so what you can do with this is you can get a much better house. A lot of the building code upgrades have already changed over time, and so I mostly want to focus on how that works in your insurance. Many of you have 10, 25, 50, and I've even seen 100% building code upgrade. And usually what that requires is you have to show that the house that you had, the house that was, I think United policyholders will talk about that some more, the house that was is the one that you have to use as the standard for what you're having to rebuild now. So in the past, the insurance companies didn't want to pay for a better house. They wanted you to pay the difference of the old house, how it was, versus the newer house being better. So you would pay the difference. But then there was a lot of discussion about building codes because they change every 3 years. So the insurance companies added these building code upgrades, and what's happened in California in the last few years, in 2008, 2007, 2010, 2013, 2016, although Schwarzenegger didn't do a code upgrade, so I'm not sure which year that was. He skipped it. But we had the energy code, the California Energy Commission changed a lot of things in the energy code, and then we adopted the green code. And so those are the major code upgrades that have changed, and we also adopted the International Residential Code, which had different things about handrails and a lot of other structural components. Also, most everyone's home was built with 2x4s and R13 installation. The current code says R19 plus a R5 wrap around the exterior of the house. So it makes it an airtight house. So then you have to actually put in an indoor air quality fan or a dehumidifier. So you have to do a lot of these energy upgrades already. So you might as well go get the incentives and do what you need to get your house to the best quality possible. What this county is providing is just hands and feet above what everybody else can do. So take advantage of it and do your best. There's a lot of other things you can look into that we've had a variety of expos to talk about. We did a big green expo in February. We're going to do it again this coming February. I'm on the steering committee for that. And we're already planning the next one. There we had panelized systems, we had ICF systems, which is insulated concrete. We had people talking about hempcrete. We had people talking about steel building systems. There's so many ways to go. Prefab systems, how can they be more fire safe? How do you get your wildland urban interface standards up to snuff for your new house? All those things are really important. You've got to add sprinklers. You have to have low flow fixtures, you have to have fireplaces, anything that's from the 90s, you have to do all of these things anyway. So you might as well really pay attention to these incentive packages and loan programs because it's a way to get through. And
I'm sorry, can I ask you, I had heard that there were going to be some changes that came in early, like July, have come in for July, on venting, windows, skylights. Has that happened? Did those come in early? Because you mentioned the January date, but I think a handful of things may have come in a little early. I'm putting you on the spot with that, I'm sorry.
that may be, but a lot of those things were already part of the Wildland Urban Interface,
Yes.
which got adopted in, I think, 2007. And maybe is just now being applied to your residences because no one had thought, oh, we need to do the Wildland Urban Interface inside the city limits. Right?
Okay.
So I think that's
what it
the
is.
main thing is that all those spark arresters and infiltration protection on windows and underfloor sprinklers, under deck sprinklers, non-combustible materials on the exterior, that's all part of the Wildland Urban Interface Code, which is it's only like 3 pages in the building code, but it has a lot of those features already.
And you'll have to do it anyway, and if you have the kind of insurance policy that covers policy changes, then it's in there.
Yes, you're going to have to do it anyway except maybe Coffee Park doesn't have to do WUI, I don't know specific areas that you're going to have to find out whether it applies to your area. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is the design and construction process is very different for you guys than someone who wanted to do a custom home. You may have had a very unique or individual home, or you may have had a home in an area that had a master plan development, like a lot of the Fountain Grove communities, Coffee Park, Mark West Estate. So a couple of things are going on in that arena, and in order to build resiliently and build quickly and build the most number of houses back, we have to get each person to participate in a program that gets your costs down and gets your insurance up so that you hit that sweet spot, that you can actually afford to build. So a lot of people are looking at their insurance and it's too low, and they're looking at the cost to build and it's too high. So that there has to be some process to get you into the arena where you can actually afford the rebuilding. So what we did in Coffee Park is that we really motivated the guys who can do 50 or 100 buildings to focus on an area and not try to get projects all over town, but focus in on an area and make sure that you can do 50 or 100 homes really well and quickly. And be efficient about it. So the way I found out about this was I investigated how to rebuild the most number of homes quickly after a disaster, and I found the Scripps Ranch people, so Stonefield. So we called them up and we invited them up to town on November 9th. While Marlene Soyland and I had dinner with Stonefield at BJ's at Cottingtown Mall, and we heard their story. So there were 312 homes in Scripps Ranch that were completely destroyed. And we're like, how do you get those back quickly? How did you rebuild that? They got 273 families moved back into their homes in 3 years, and 98% of those homes were in building permit by the end of that 3 years. That's an incredible statistic. If you look at Hurricane Katrina, if you look at Superstorm Sandy, if you look at Lake County, it's just an unheard of statistic. So we were like, how did you do that? So they had a big builder come in,
And they said, we want you to rebuild the whole neighborhood just the way it was done in the beginning, because it was a master plan community. They had 5 plans and 3 elevations for every home. And the big builder said, sure, but once they started talking to each person with their insurance and their equity and their mortgage and their desires and their concerns, they were like, oh, that's not our model. We don't do that. We just build homes. And so we can't do it. And they left. So it was like one of those big outfits. And so then the HOA said, well, let's invite in other builders. So they brought in a bunch of other builders, and they ended up having 53 different contractors sign up with the various owners. So they had 53 different contractors to get that whole neighborhood back in 4 years. And one of them was Stonefield. They did 81 of the homes. Stonefield did one team where they built all their homes in one area, and they did 48 homes. And they had another team that built the homes all over the neighborhood, and they did 33 homes. So there's the same size team, but it took them the same amount of time to do 48 altogether and 33 separate. So, but they were able to beat everyone else in price by $50 to $100 a square foot. So then there was other home builders who did 10 to 20. There were some that did 1 to 5, 1 to 10, 5 to 10. But they were able to really bring the savings in and work with the insurance companies and all the mortgage constraints by having someone in-house who could handle all the different issues that came up. And so, so we got them going in Mark West Estates. We introduced them the next day to the HOA. Mark West Estates is going to be more than half built already just by Stonefield, and it created a competitive drive among everybody else to also get a sign on their property. So all the homeowners and the other contractors, they all stepped up. So then we, in Coffee Park, did the same thing. We have about 10 different contractors working in Coffee Park who can do multiple homes at the same time. So they're going to go through there. You see that area is doing really well in terms of rebuilding. But then we have the whole rest of the county where it's like, who's going to rebuild all of Reebley Road and Mark West Springs Road and Kenwood and everything else has unique situations. Wilshire, that kind of little area there. How do you do that? So then Homebound sprung up, and they're here today, just if you're interested in talking to them. And they came with the idea that we could do custom homes, individual homes, unique homes, with the same kind of efficiencies by having multiple general contractors who can do the 1 to 5 or 5 to 10 homes per year, but they all work under one umbrella. So then you can still get the efficiency of the multiple, the purchasing efficiency of a bigger outfit. You can get the insurance savings of a bigger outfit. You can get the warranty 2 to 10. You can get all of those things without having to drive the prices up so high. So that's the way to get more homes rebuilt in all of these areas. So I just wanted to mention that one.
So, Julia, if this is inappropriate, I'll take my answer off the air, so to speak, but where would State Farm, insured by State Farm, it is custom?
Hold on just a second. Let me get you a mic.
Oh, sorry.
I get to be, let's see, Oprah. I'll be Oprah today. And let's go ahead and open it up for questions for others for a few minutes.
So if this isn't appropriate for everybody, I apologize, but I was going to ask Susan Bourne and United Policy after this lecture that we're tied to a timeline on insurance policy. And in all of our research, we discovered that the folks from the Oakland Hills fire, their recovery time was like 4+ years. Well, if our policy goes awry year 2, and we're still, if there is a God, we might start by next May. We're not going to fall into that. So I'm just curious as to how do they get this done in 2 years?
Okay, so the natural life cycle for rebuilding after disaster is more like 4 years. So that first day when the governor was here, I went up and said, hi, my name is Julia Donahoe, we need 4 years. That was my day one ask. I know we've worked on trying to get at least 3 years, and that's still in the process. You can ask if you're diligently working on your process, which doesn't mean you have to have started with everybody else, but you're diligently working on your process. You can get to next October, not this October, but next October, 2019, and say, we have been doing our design, we've got everything lined up, but we are talking to contractors, we finally found one we want to work with, this is what the contract's mean. I need 6 more months. You can ask for extensions, and they are not unreasonably withheld, as long as you can show that you've been consistently working on it. I even know someone who took off on a trip for a year and a half and then came home and realized he still wanted to rebuild. And he still was able to get his insurance to fly. But what you can't get usually is an increase in the loss of use money. So it depends on your policy, how much your loss of use, how far that can go, and the rental that you're using. So if you maximize that out at 24 months and there's no money left in that bucket, you can't get that extended. And so you're paying your mortgage and rent, and that's where it becomes very, very difficult for many people. If your loss of use is larger and you can get them to agree to extend it 6 months or 12 months, then you just keep going. The other money for rebuilding is available to you, the replacement cap and the building codes, but they do want you to have some sort of commitment within that 2 years. But you can show, I'm diligently working on this, I don't want to close the claim yet, and I need another 6 months. And then at the end of that 6 months, you can ask for another one, but you have to show that you're doing the work to get back into your house.
Let me pass.
And I just want to say, I absolutely understand where you're coming from, and I think everybody should go back to United Policyholders. It was very discouraging to me to be testifying in front of the Senate Banking Committee, where we were talking about some of the legislation, most of which is now in the wastebasket. And we were talking about expanding those timelines, both for rental assistance as well as everything else. And it was a huge slap in the face to have all of the state senators say, not all of them, but most of them say, we're so sorry, we're so sorry for your loss, but we can't possibly do retroactive changes because this will affect all of the other policyholders in California. Well, guess what? We're in this new normal. Everything is going to affect policyholders in California, and we're getting very short shrift from our legislature in even understanding. And we had about 15 people from county up there testifying. They were totally not sympathetic to who we are and what we're doing.
Yeah. Our own delegation has been pretty good, but it has not been a message that's been easy to carry throughout the legislature. And I want to commend the work of Susan Gorin and the county, along with the city. I think we've really been working hard with our legislative delegation as well. I also want to point out, before we move on, that the city of Santa Rosa is over here. So if you're in the city limits and you're working with city issues, go that way. If you're in the county and you're working on county issues, county permitting is over there waving. So both municipalities, both entities are present. I want to give a shout out to Sonoma Marin Water Saving Partnership, Brian Lee. He's got some pre-existing plans for architectural, water efficient, low burn, landscaping ideas that are well worth having a look at. Already mentioned Homebound at the Blue, wave your hands there. Check in with them also. I really want to appreciate the gathering of people that Susan Gorin has brought here today, along with the United Way. And I'm having a share program, so folks who want to have safe opening of their house for senior to seniors sharing a house provides us with additional solutions to our housing crisis. And we have you provide loans, and I don't know you very well. California Community Lenders, University of California and the Garden, Master Garden Program, and I've missed something, I'm sure, and then of course the Oakmont COPE program. So please do make the round, and thank you everybody for being here.
Are there any wrap-up questions or comments for this panel? You're going to ask Susan Gorin a question? Okay, hold on.
I understand about the SB 894, the process that was going on, and the legislator will answer that. I was just wondering whether we have a way to get to everybody who has their house burned down and act as a political force to get these legislative people know and send email or whatever, postcard or whatever to kick their ass. That's what I say. To make sure they do something for us instead of saying sorry.
Yeah. I totally understand where you and we are coming from. It's pretty discouraging that there were not more changes in legislation moving forward. And in fact, we're having very important conversations that will put us at a disadvantage through inverse condemnation. The governor sort of said, okay, we're going to have an adult conversation. We understand the utility companies have some liability issues here, and we're going to try to limit that. And I have to be fair to some of our local legislators. They are fighting the good fight for us, and they're furious at this, as we are. But this is I do understand the concern that the utilities have also, as we are in this new normal. It is not new anymore. This is normal. We're burning up. And so we are going to have a significant challenge. I'm concerned about insurance companies leaving the state. I'm also concerned potentially about our utility companies going bankrupt. But we have a lot of conversation happening to protect us and build better. I want to thank the panel and especially Council Member Julie Combs for this great panel discussion. And I bet every one of them will be around for a while to answer your questions. And in about 10 minutes, we'll start the next panel discussion. Thank you. Please welcome and thank our panelists.
Thank you. Thank you all.